Hello, today I'm here with Meryl Goldsmith, who co-wrote The Syndrome with her cousin, first cousin, Susan Goldsmith, and it is about shaken baby syndrome. And she is here to debunk the myths all about shaken baby syndrome and the dire consequences that result from a misdiagnosis. First of all, thank you so much, Meryl, for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Would you like to talk about how you got motivated to be a part of this project?
Sure, absolutely. I called Susan, my cousin, for story ideas to potentially partner up on my next film, and she had the shaken baby story, so she told me all about it and that she had been researching it for months, and I was just blown away. I couldn't believe that a medical misdiagnosis could actually be sending so many people to prison across the country. Not only that, these kids didn't have any outside signs of abuse. It was only internal bleeding in the brain and the back of the eyes. There was no bruising, no broken bones, and these were good parents and caretakers who took the child in, the baby, to a hospital to get care, and that's when the accusations were made. And so I just felt really sorry for these families who were getting torn apart across the country and all the innocent people going to prison and just the results from that. So I was really motivated to be the voice for these people who really don't have a voice because the press totally takes the other side and automatically assumes guilt. And of course we live in a country where innocent until proven guilty, and that's how I feel they should be presented as well. And so I really wanted to have a voice for them.
Is this something that's personal to you, or do you have children, or does your cousin?
Susan has 2 young boys. I don't have children yet, but I hope to someday.
Okay.
And but I just I felt for all these families who were torn apart from their children. I could imagine how it felt, and when I would interview them and see the tears, and it just really tore me up inside as well. So.
Do you believe that shaken baby syndrome is a real syndrome, just to be clear for our viewers?
Sure. As far as I can tell from Susan's research and what she's looked into over the past over 5 years, we have not seen any real shaken baby cases because we've never seen any neck injuries. And according to the new biomechanical science, the neck would be broken if you really did violently whiplash a child back and forth. You would see neck damage long before you would see brain damage. So we haven't seen any cases, but if there ever was a case where the neck was damaged, then that might be a shaken baby case. But the 1,000 in prison, there's no neck damage in any of those cases.
What do you think causes the bleeding with the eyes and the other things that go with shaken baby syndrome?
So from what the doctors in our films have researched and others, they've found that vitamin deficiencies, blood disorders, diseases, metabolic disorders, shortfalls in accidents. I think there's about 98 things that cause retinal hemorrhages, different conditions. Wow. So unless they've really done extensive testing, there's a lot to be looked into with this. So.
And do you find that doctors are reluctant to look into any of these things?
Yes. Actually, doctors are required by law to report suspected abuse if they see bleeding on the brain or bleeding in the back of the eyes. And so that kind of starts this whole process of accusing these people. And of course, we want doctors to report if there really were suspected abuse. But if it's just these conditions, then there was no abuse, and therefore the report shouldn't be made.
Do you have a statistic about how many people are in prison right now?
Based on the legal scholars that we interviewed in the film, it's a very general estimate that about 1,000, maybe up to 3,000 to 5,000 people are in prison for this.
Wow, that's a ginormous, number. And the children suffer because they're separated from their parents.
Exactly.
When they're babies, and that's when they need to bond with them.
Yes, exactly. And often the children are adopted out into foster care, and if they pin it on one parent and the other parent doesn't say yes, he or she was the abuser, they'll take the child away or children away from the other parent, saying, well, you're covering up for your husband, so we're going to take the kids away from you too. And so it's just a nightmare all around, and we're really hoping that the film will raise awareness and help the people in prison. And we hope to jump ahead, we hope for there to be a national review for all of these cases, all of them to be reopened and looked at. So
I would love that too. Do you think most spouses do support their other spouse?
From what we've seen, from what the people we've talked to, of course we haven't talked to everyone, but it's such a traumatic experience, and the couples that we've interviewed have somehow managed to stay together through all the trauma, but they still suffer I guess you could say
Yeah.
PTSD to this day because of what they went through. So they're now participating in the film to prevent other families from going through the same nightmare that they had gone through, and that's why they want to, tell their story. So.
And I understand was it the National Shaken Baby Foundation that did not want you to have your film in festivals?
Correct, yes. The National Center for Shaken Baby Syndrome sent a legally threatening letter to the 3 festivals that were premiered at in October, but the film festival stuck by us and said, this is our First Amendment right. We didn't slander anybody. We didn't, everything's been checked by a lawyer, and so they can't sue over anything. So we think that they were just trying to scare them from playing the film, but they did not succeed, and we're going to keep trying to get it out there any way we can so that the message gets out there that this is not real and people are hurting because of it.
Do you think that the people from the Shaken Baby Center really believe in this disorder for the most part and are not just wanting to cover from the people that they may have sent to prison, probably?
I don't know. I don't know why they're doing it. It does appear that they've built their whole careers on this, and they consider themselves the experts of Shaken Baby, and it might have to do with the fact that it's hard to look back and say, "Oops, I sent 500 innocent people to prison." That's something that I don't think they want to face.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
How has your film been received by other people from the festival?
People have been loving it and coming up, asking tons of questions at the Q&As. Most of the time at the Q&As, they have to kick us out because there's so many people asking questions and wanting to talk to us. And so it's been an amazing experience, and people have said that they've never had a documentary completely change them around before on the opinion on something. So that makes us feel good that we're actually getting the message out there, and we show both sides in the film. We show all the information. I hope people will see for themselves and make their own decision on their opinion on this. But the science that we have in the film is pretty strong. So.
And I guess you would say that was your main theme or key point you were trying to make.
Yes, that the their science has now crumbled. And not only has it not been proven as a theory, it's been disproven as a theory. You cannot create the force without breaking the neck. You can't create that kind of damage in the brain. So the doctors and scientists in our film that we interviewed just stick to the science, and that's all they don't think of this with emotions. They think of it with logic and science, and they look at the facts, and I hope people will continue to do that as well when they leave, after leaving the film, because we're all jurors, potential jurors, and we all have neighbors and friends who could go through this, or it could happen to us. So, yeah, it really could happen to anyone who's watching a baby or child who gets sick. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, because it's such a common diagnosis, I would assume.
Yeah, and it turns out bleeding is a very generic response to a lot of these conditions. So, we hope doctors will start to look into this more.
In the scheme of things, was this your first documentary, or?
It was the first documentary I've released. I did some others on electronic music before, and I really wanted to do a project that would help people and make a difference in the world, and that's why I called Susan, who's a national award-winning investigative journalist, and she's a career journalist for 25 years now.
Okay.
So she's done a lot of these types of stories in the past. She actually reported on real child abuse since the 90s and has gotten 2 laws passed in Oregon to better protect children in foster care. So we're well aware of how much real abuse is out there, and we hope that the resources and funds are used to go after real abusers.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah,
that was a
thank you.
very illuminating subject, and I hope it opens the eyes for a lot of people.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me and giving me the opportunity.
And please, everyone, go to Meryl Goldsmith's website and please check out The Syndrome.